Oh, damn. Hey, man. How are you, sir?
Oh, busy today. 6 interviews from like 8 in the morning. So I've been back to back to back to back to back. But this is it. All I have to do is edit all of them after this. So we are rocking and rolling here.
What is the theme of all of the interviews?
3 banked ones about one about the militarization of police, one about evictions, one about how the language of economics has permeated everything else in politics, and then 3 more on Kamala Harris. 3 more?
All with the same person or different people or what?
All different people. Oh yeah, 3 more. Yeah, Jack Allison, Chad Prather, and Michael Socolow, all about Kamala Harris.
What is the consensus on Ms. Harris?
Nobody thinks it's a horrifying mistake. Some people wonder whether or not she is too, like, basically the big risk you take with Kamala Harris is you're saying to progressives, for whom we're very excited with Bernie Sanders, are very excited in the midterm or in these primaries with AOC and Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar, to go out and vote, that you're telling them, you hate Trump, right? And you're not really giving them a lot. You're not really playing, like, the things that they want the most. You are not gonna do for them. So that seems to be the consensus idea of, like, where you could look back and say you should have went with somebody that was more progressive than
More
Kamala
progressive.
Harris.
Wow. Interesting. Yeah. Huh. Okay.
I mean, it really shows you the dual reality, though. It shows you the dual reality that we have on the left and the right, because a lot of people are saying, like, Trump is running ads about, like, this Joe Biden is being controlled by the ultra left, and Kamala Harris is a sign of that, and that, she's too progressive. And that, I think, for people on the right is true. Like, the things that she's for that progressives look at as neoliberal or half measures, that conservatives look at as, like, wow, we're, like, way beyond the reservation if you're looking at Kamala Harris as Bill Clinton, right?
Yeah.
And that's I think how the progressives look at it. But again, this is all a big old jumble of stuff until we find out how the puzzle pieces fall on November 3rd.
Well, and I know that in general, a VP pick never really moves the needle as much as we want to believe it. Maybe at most it buys you one state if somebody's beloved and from a place.
Even that, the only real numbers that you see on that is if it's a small state and they are very well known.
Right.
Like, you can't pick the mailman from Michigan and then expect the mailman to win. It's if it's a governor that everyone's loved for a while, and Michigan is a small enough population that it's like, all right, the 2 points that it might buy you can flip it. But otherwise, it is what it is.
Yeah. I got to admit, I as a voter, I'm feeling very confused. And to clarify where I'm coming from, obviously my default is vote third party. It's the most moral position almost universally, right? Because almost certainly your vote doesn't mean anything. And there's a huge difference to make a percentage point more for, anything other than the red team and blue team. But, like, I'm so upset about how Trump has pushed to make it a political argument about whether or not people should wear masks that I was really trying on for the last few days. Like, shit, man, maybe I'll vote Democrat because I'm so angry at Trump, right? But then, but the more I look at Biden and Harris, I'm like, a dude who caused the drug war, doubled down on the drug war, and then another lady who enforced the drug war, and then
laughed about smoking weed.
It makes me so mad. It's so racist and so terrible that I'm withdrawing, and I'm back to my default position of third party.
Yeah, Chad Prather, who works at the Blaze, and he was my like Trump. He was my Trump voice on this in the interviews that I did. Uh, he was like, I thought it was a really good interview, but he's like, yeah, I just think a lot of people are going to stay home. Like, at the end of the day, I think that people made their decisions a long time ago, and everything else we've gotten. Our thumb and index fingers are very well muscled with how much we hold our nose to vote these days, that like we're just all the decisions that we believe in from long ago, they're just going to be what we vote on in November. And there's not a lot that either can do, considering that, number one, we're not exactly in inspiring times, right? Like things are bad. But also, like, for whatever anybody might look to be like, this is disgusting, I'm going to look to the other side. Progressives saying this is disgusting with Biden. We're never going to change the Democratic Party if these are the people that they keep putting up, and they railroaded Bernie until he retired, and they gave the poor man a heart attack. Screw it. I'll protest vote for Trump. And then you look at Trump and you're like, no, not so much. And then there's like never Trumpers who are like, screw it, I'm voting for Biden. And then you look at Biden, you're like, oh, geez, like I don't like the Trump tweets, but all these things, geez, Louise.
Do you think
it's interesting.
Do you think we might be on track for like a record-breaking low turnout, or?
I mean, we might be, just because there's a pandemic, right? Like if there was ever going to be a time where people didn't want to go out and vote, it's like now you have to, for some people, take their life in their own hands if they have, autoimmune, if they have certain underlying issues, if you're diabetic or you're older or whatever, like,
or spend 50 cents on a stamp. I mean, it's like
sure, but even then, like, or taking the effort to get an absentee ballot, or remembering where your absentee ballot was, or whatever. I mean, like there's all the things that kind of come into it. And by the way, look, we're spending how much money on campaigns? I see it all over Oakland, on a year-long campaign for people to send in their census, like that they were mailed 3 months ago. Right. Like they were,
hey, that
sorry,
thing that
more
we
than
sent
that,
you
5 months ago.
That is literally mandated in the Constitution. That is super important for everything from civil rights to representation to gerrymandering. Could you just check those boxes and send it back, please, pretty please. Also, literally the law. It's literally against the law for you to not send it back. So would you just obey the law, please?
Please, we're begging you. You have a year. You have a whole year. We're going to give you a whole year. And now for this, we're going to send people some shit, and they're going to have a month. And so whatever you understand the failure rate of the census is, then assume that, granted, the census gets much less media coverage than the election does, but I would say that it would probably be a proportional percentage that also wouldn't send in their ballot just because the fucking dog ate it. Or was it under the magazines, or was it under the TV? Did I prop up the table with it? Like, people do dumb shit.
This is interesting because now I'm toying with the idea of, I'm very fascinated by making my voice heard the loudest. And it's possible, because I tend to throw, quote unquote, throw away my vote on third parties anyway. That maybe the loudest way to exercise my voice would be to not vote. I've never really considered this before. To join the millions who are going to be who are going to very loudly say,
Yeah. It's interesting. It's if you look at the demographic breakdown, and by the way, your reasoning why you would consider voting for Biden is the reason why Trump took masks seriously. like the reason why he has totally hit it in reverse and is now like, oh, live events. Oh, never. I'd never consider it. Live events shouldn't do the RNC live. No, conspicuously, they haven't mentioned when the next live Trump campaign event is going to be. He made a point of pulling his mask out of his pocket and wearing it in front of the press and stuff like that. So I think that's they saw your opinion in the data, even if it's just, no, this is so repulsive to some people that
Right.
they would consider
Jumping to
going
another
to
party.
the other side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which was a bit of a surprise even to me, like to feel that so strongly. It was, I don't know, it was weird.
It's but it's crazy. Let's focus on what's really important.
Go on.
And that is me. That I have something to
Yes.
talk about again.
Yes.
And I'm very, very thrilled. We walked through a content
Yes.
desert for so long. And here I am, like what's his butt in Shawshank Redemption when he climbs out the fucking
Old
shit pipe.
what's his butt coming out the shit pipe? Who would
I'm
never
just
take it in
fucking
the shit
looking-
pipe?
Looking up, like being washed by God's own rain. It's amazing.
Yeah, man. So
Content.
we talked a little bit about it last night or on the last happy hour about how the tone of the show has changed. You know, do you feel like you have an internal schedule of how flippant to be as we get closer and closer to the big day, and you know how unfunny it's going to get to more and more people?
No, I'm smart now. That's the thing. I'm smart now. So fuck it. I'm smart. I'm the smart guy. So
Right on.
I correctly predicted the VP. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think that there's an element of gallows humor that you can have that does, you know, it'll turn some people off. But in general, if you're listening to me week after week, then you know that this is a grind. And sometimes you see patterns that are funny. And so if I don't point them out, then I'm not doing the show that people enjoy. But I do think sometimes the like a pox on both your houses stuff doesn't
Land.
do me any favors.
Because
then
it's
again,
like, well, wait a minute, I'm in one of those houses. A pox on
Yeah.
me, you say? What?
Well, I did a thing on the show 2 weeks ago where somebody asked me to read through Umberto Eco's 14 Stages of Fascism, and with the insinuation being that we were falling into fascism under Trump. And so what I did was read them with the loud voices of both the left and the right. And so I did one half of my sentence being Trump is causing fascism, and the other cancel culture and the left is causing fascism. And that went over really well with some people. Some people loved it and they were like, cut it out. I want to share it with my friends. This is great. This is amazing. JDS3K saying that was the best thing I did all year. But from like close friends, some people came to me and were like, that's awful. Never
Offensives.
do that again. That's
Wait,
never do that again.
And it's just because what you gave you accurately appeared to have taken a side.
Well, I think I actively took both sides at the same time.
Yeah.
The problem was, I think, there's just people like this show, people like PX3 rather, because I am the antidote to, like, if you want to balance out your life, watching Fox News and MSNBC to like back and forth does not make you balanced. It makes you angry for different reasons. Right. And so I think some people, it was just the PTSD of like, no. I don't come to this show for that. I got plenty of other places that, you know, can give me that better. They can give me the reason why we're all falling into fascism by themselves, and they're very good at it, and I enjoy it or I hate it. And then the other side was, you're just antagonizing everybody, and whether or not you're right, it's not educational. Like, and that's what some people like about the show. Hence, I'm smart now because I can give them something that they have not yet chewed on. Whereas me just like letting forth my actual rage toward these kinds of arguments does not, it might have felt good to me. And boy, Brian, did it feel good to me. But it didn't. It didn't give them a takeaway.
You invented a variation of the Steel Man, the spiteful Steel Man, where it's like, yes, I can make a Steel Man on both sides and clang them together, and guess what you get? Sparks, fuck you. Fuck both of you.
There was one moment where I just wanted to be like, for people who are like, never do that again. And I'm like, oh, was that annoying? Was that annoying? Oh, is that annoying to you? Did that annoy you? Oh, that's crazy. That annoyed you. Oh, you want to know what else annoys me? When everybody says this and then they get 20,000 Twitter retweets and all of my smart friends are like, finally, this.
Finally,
Like-
somebody's telling the truth. I love only
Yeah.
believing half the things and being willfully blind to the other side. It's me,
Yeah.
Twitter.
So that was one of the. There was a moment where I was like, I was actually happy that it annoyed people. I was happy that it annoyed people because that I feel like that's what I have seen. But then again, my buddy John Teasdale pointed out that like, well, at the very least, from a business argument, you basically did what happens on either poll as the radical centrist, which has a far smaller audience, whereas otherwise I have carved out a universe for myself where I can talk to everybody. I'm better as the scoreboard and not the scoreboard screaming, football's dumb, fuck you, teenage
Actually,
concussions.
That's a pretty good point, because half the fans are going to be Cowboys fans and half the fans are going to be Giants fans, and you did spend all of halftime talking about how football in general is totally dumb.
is awful, right? And everyone should feel bad about themselves.
And there's somebody out there who's just like, oh my God, finally someone said it. And but that's a very small audience compared to everybody in the auditorium.
Exactly. And everybody that emailed me and was like, "Hey, that's amazing." They were David Cross at Arrested Development saying like, "There are dozens of us."
Yeah.
Dozens.
Hey, did you read that article that was like apparently written for exactly you and me?
Wait, yeah. No, I have not, because I did not get a chance a chance to have any kind of moment, but no, I didn't Google it.
Well, it was I mean, it was definitely written for us and our demographic and in praise of Mr. Show.
Yes.
But the stuff that it tied into, I thought was weak at best. Like, you could tell that what somebody did was just think of a bunch of Mr. Show sketches and then try to retcon this predicted this, sort of, I guess. Like for example,
I mean, really, yeah. All right, yeah. Go ahead. Let's go through it. Let's give a shout out. Vanity Fair.
Nope. Fast Company.
Fast Company. Sorry, Fast Company.
Yeah. So, Change for $1. Good sketch.
Well, I mean, not a good sketch. One of the greatest, most perfect sketches ever written. Change for $1 is.
Did you ever read the Mr. Show book where they explain where that came from?
Yeah, it was about what David Cross wanted to get a quote on T-shirts.
No, yeah, a caricature. They needed to have a caricature of the two of them done, and then they're like, Jesus, this guy, and then that's just them mocking that one dude,
that one
who wouldn't
guy.
give a fucking quote, and it ended up being like $150 or something.
So if you're not aware, number one, watch all these things, but we're going to do very quick summations of these sketches. But the point of Change for $1 is a guy at a convenience store wants change for $1, and it's a successive Russian nesting doll of people calling up to their managers that eventually ends up with the president on the golf course.
and then what I love is it gets more serious the farther up it goes, where it's like hey, fuck, oh, I missed the shot.
Yeah.
And then it's like, hey, we got a guy who needs change for $1, and then the guy immediately apologizes, like, I'm sorry, I didn't know it was serious. Okay. Change.
But yeah, no, I think if you look at like, She Loves You, like the Beatles, right? like if you like the pop perfection of the early Beatles,
Yep.
That is Change for $1 for sketch comedy, in my opinion. It's so perfect, it's so understandable, it's so funny, and
it's
then
so relatable.
snaps.
Like it's one of those, you get the joke in the first 20 seconds and then you just wallow in it for 3 full minutes afterwards. And,
Exactly.
in
And
the
it
execution.
knows it knows exactly where your breaking point is, and it's perfect. Anyway,
Okay, next up, blow up the moon, which
we've talked about it so many times.
Yep.
Yeah.
It says, he says in the article where it's a sketch that feels deeply embedded in the DNA of 2020. We're blindly following whatever patriotic winds may blow. We're bombing Iran. We're opening the country back up in time for Memorial Day. Increasingly leads to dead ends. Yeah, I mean, that seems fine.
Yeah,
I'll buy that.
I would almost also say, not to be fucking Mr. Both Sides, but it also to me is a perfect lampooning of politicians promising big things for the sake of promising big things, or the idea that we're always here for the next big moment. You know, whatever that big moment is, all we care about are big moments, even if it's something as intensely stupid as blowing up the moon.
Yes. This is where it starts to get good because he brings up sketches that I had forgotten about, like Trip to Europe. Do you remember this one?
I would have to get there by taking a balloon up my ass to Holland.
No, that's what I thought it was.
Oh,
but it's not.
It's not?
No. It's Road Rules where they have to find a bunch of bean bags. And the last bean bag is in Anne Frank's attic. And then I'll just cut right to the best part where it's like Bob Odenkirk is trying to keep it positive, but then
Bet old Annie Frank beat my record.
like he
It doesn't say.
Man, they're not gonna
Da-
put that in there.
David Cross is like on the very edge, teetering
Nice
on the
house,
brink
though.
of being actually sad and
Yeah.
thoughtful, and Bob
yeah,
Odenkirk
it's
won't
bigger
let
than
him.
I expected, you know? It's like it's roomy.
Can you imagine being holed up in my apartment for 2 years? Now that would suck donkey dicks.
Shit. Hey man, you still looking for a place?
Yeah. Wouldn't mind a place like this.
Shit, yeah. Man, fucking secret entrance and all that.
That would be the bong room. Well, at least they didn't have my landlord.
Yeah, man, that dude's like a total nuts.
Here it is.
Hey, what's wrong with you, man?
Man, this place is bumming me out.
Yeah, must be the color of the walls.
Yeah.
Walk it off, man. Look, loosen up. You got a hacky sack? Let's hack.
Nah, man, this isn't working for me.
Think about the beanbag, man.
I mean, what kind of God would make a world where a beanbag was so hard to find?
That's amazing.
That was for the beanbag.
For the beanbag.
God, I don't remember that one.
They eventually find the beanbag, but like that moment where it's like it's all about just like don't you do it?
The moment, yeah.
The article says it ties it to the fact that that's right, that 160,000 Americans are dead of coronavirus. Millions have lost their jobs, and depending on how you squint, that's either a good thing or a bad thing, depending on if you're red team or blue team.
Yeah.
So that one I feel like landed.
Yeah. I mean, I would take something slightly different, but in general, I will award it.
Night talk with the Senate subcommittee.
In a handbasket, opening on
This one's great.
December 15th, all across this great country. Is that correct, Mr. Stewart?
Yes. I felt it was time again for a Vietnam
Jon
message.
Stewart.
And,
Yeah.
Well, I've always wanted to work with Todd Spurls ever since I saw him in Tap Daddy on Broadway.
Tonight on Night Talk with the Senate Subcommittee, it's actor-writer Jon Stewart. A surprise
Shockingly
visit from
close
our
to the
college
actual
comic
appearance of
blueberry
Jon Stewart at
Yeah.
the Senate subcommittee.
I'm led to believe that you have a prop that you want to show us.
Yeah, fucking great.
So he ties it in saying like in a world where late night talk shows are all on Zoom, they might as well be this.
Yeah, that one's. I feel like you're also just like pulling all the political sketches, like You know, if you're doing, I mean, because they did a fair amount of things that involve presidents and governments and everything. So it's like things that are really tied to 2020. All the times that they reference that, like Mr. Show was very
Politics.
dialed into politics.
Yeah.
We're really dialed into politics.
All right. Well, maybe this will break that trend here.
Thank you. Thank you.
But, you know, hey, everybody's got it rough, right? I mean, take a look at this guy. Stand up, sir. Come on. This guy showed up tonight, huh? How about him? What about him? I mean, look at him.
It's just David Cross with a pillow under his shirt.
Hey, folks, this guy can't be doing too great, huh? I mean, look at that suit, huh? Did you just wake up fat today and squeeze into yesterday's suit? Is that it, sir? I mean, hey, pick a waist size and stick with it. You know what I'm saying? Where are you from, sir?
Rhode Island,
Oh, really? Which part?
Pawtucket.
No. Which part are you, you fat bastard? Thank you. All right, sit down.
The rest of the sketch is just like everybody else piling on that one guy. Yeah, and then there's definitely a
But these are all
Red
political.
Scare. Yeah.
Red Scare.
Although the
stuff.
Devastator, the soul-shattering experience, I don't know. That seems like the biggest stretch to tie to 2020. Although Protesters is pretty good.
Protesters is good. What else is on there? Is that the end?
Wicked Scepter, the ability to not understand the irony of being homophobic and having a gay party tape go out and be fine with it as long as you could see it as you and not somebody else.
Yeah. God. Oh, number one, any excuse to have people watch Mr. Show sketches is amazing. I guess we're done. We're done with Mr. Show with Bob and David on Netflix. I guess there's going to be no more of that. It's a shame.
I mean, they're just so busy, right? I mean, they got. I mean, nobody. I would be surprised if I was going to make an even money bet and I had the time to wait 10 to 20 years for it to pay off. I think there's almost no way that's the very last Bob and David something out there.
Yeah, I would like to think so. Because with Bob and David was pretty funny. There were a few like getting back into the flow of things, you know, kind of sketches, but like they definitely hit 95 on the gun a few times during those, like, what is it, 3 or 4 episodes?
Man, is that all there was? How many episodes were there? Let me see. Netflix. Here, I'll do IMDb. The one that pops out to my mind the most is that country music one, but
The country music one was like that actually, if you just put that in, you know, Mr. Show, number one, you'd be like, wow, they have new cameras for this one sketch and one sketch only. But beyond that, it is exactly in their vein, up to and including the like their strange appreciation yet befuddlement with country music.
I mean,
which
it's almost like they pull a Steelman argument against country music by like, okay, we're going to make a very good country music song.
yes,
And to prove just how shitty country music is. Yeah, we did it. We got him.
yeah. I think that's the thing, is like they love it on some level,
Right.
but they are very confused by it. Like they don't quite they can't quite they can't quite wrap their head around it.
4 episodes and then a making of. Huh.
Jackie, sorry, I wasn't looking at chat. So repeat what you said in the chat before. I know you're freaking out because you're probably explaining everything that we are asking about.
They're not thrilled with the removal of Know Your Rights. The blackface.
Yeah, but that's recent. I mean, like that just happened in the last like 3 months, right?
right, but that
Yeah.
doesn't make them any less upset that they got caught in the crossfire for something that was unrelated to the point that they were making. Like,
sure. Oh, no. I'm not saying that they would or wouldn't be upset. My only point is that I don't know if that would cause them to not do another show either at Netflix or other places, because that's one thing that we
I
have
don't
right
know.
now is a
They
media
seem-
ecoscape that
They seem pretty
is-
upset. They seem like pretty angry, specifically at Netflix, for kowtowing to the
but-
the lumping them in with minstrel shows and all that stuff. Like they seem pretty insulted.
I agree, but so would that stop them from going to Amazon? Would that stop them from going to Hulu? Would that stop them from going to other places? Like, or do they just feel, nope, that's it. That we got a sketch cut and we're never doing sketch comedy again? Or would they sell it on their own website? Like, I mean, hell, I know that Louis C.K. is persona non grata, but that motherfucker definitely just sold a special on his website, despite the fact that he was
How did that go?
literally canceled. I don't know. I don't know if anybody's allowed to call Louis C.K. to ask. Like how much money
or
he
if you
made.
would get a direct answer. I mean, certainly there's no press releases coming out like he made this much money.
Yeah, I know. He's not going to Reuters and saying like, me, disgraced comedian Louis C.K. just made $1 million. I think he'd rather be like, because like, you know how that one, there's no upside for him to tell anybody how much he made. Like he could have made $3 million. And if he said it to anybody, it'd be disgusting. I can't believe disgusting, gross comedian Louis C.K. profits $3 million in jizz money.
Right.
Like, so yeah, I don't know.
I think he does mention it in an interview 5 years from now, after that pendulum is swung significantly farther back, and he's like, that seems like a tidbit that the world would want to know. That
Oh, I think it's more a book. That would be like in a book about like this, whatever this life and times we're in and where we're coming out the other side. Like Louis C.K. was as famous and revered as stand-up comedians can get by the time that he was canceled. Like people forget that dude had just directed a movie that was like getting Oscar buzz. Like, and it was weird and creepy, and I watched it. It was kind of weird and creepy, but I think it would have gotten Oscar buzz. Like, it was a black and white movie as an homage to Woody Allen about a young girl who is being targeted by a Woody Allen figure. You know, so it's like it had all the meta shit in there, and then all of a sudden, poof, he's gone.
did we already talk on either Happy Hour or Night Attack about the Ellen controversy?
I don't think we have, no.
Because I saw the headline, amid scandal, Jerry O'Connell offers support. I'm like, oh, there's a scandal. And then it breaks down a timeline of exactly how the Ellen scandal happened. 3 years ago, someone said that there's someone in Hollywood who isn't very nice. 1 year ago, it was revealed that that person, Kathy Griffin, was talking about Ellen, who has a reputation for being very nice. And then voices came forward saying, yes, she's not as nice as she presents. And I'm waiting for the scandal. And then it's like, end of timeline. And I'm like, is this how far we've gotten? Is that this is all that, like, we're at the very last slurps of the soup bowl of controversy on this? We've cleaned everything up. So now the new controversy has to be that the literal scandal is that Ellen isn't as nice as you think she is.
Well, all right. So there's a few layers here. Number one, the Ellen rumors have kind of been around forever. And we don't know whether or not she's just garden variety shitty boss, like, or she's like whip her assistants with fucking like coat hangers until they bleed, right? Like we don't know where on the spectrum that is. We know that she went through a fairly high turnover rate of people that worked on her show, and I will say anecdotally, every stand-up comedian is fucking weird, and she's a stand-up comedian, and
therefore
she's fucking weird.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's say she's a psychological monster. Let's say she's even a physical abuser. That is what it is in the game that she's playing.
That
though,
sounds like Hollywood to me, man. So far you've just said all I've heard is Hollywood, 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 Hollywood.
but
Hollywood is a lot like Hollywood.
But let's get into that then, because I think you're right. Hollywood being Hollywood also used to be you have to suck Harvey Weinstein's mangled penis if
Right.
you want to have a leading actress Oscar-worthy career. And so there is this idea of like, let's re-examine what is good and what is bad. Let's re-examine how far we're willing to tolerate behavior going forward. Now, that ain't my business. And in my opinion, I don't have a vote on it. But I do say for people who are like, hey, by the way, this person's a monster. If you care about the fact that she's a monster now, because nobody cared about it before when people were talking about it, then there you go. You now have that information.
I suppose the part that fascinates me is anybody, like the secondary crime of like she committed a crime by having an interview with Kevin Hart. Somebody who is part of the LGBT community said, hey, I don't think it's fair the way you're being crucified for your so-called homophobic tweaks. And again, don't have me. I ain't got no dog in that fight.
Exactly.
But
exactly 4 tweets short.
yes, being
perfect
perfect.
person.
Yes, exactly. But then, so now she's a criminal by association, and now to be got over the new crime. By the way, we just wrote a new law. Thou shalt not present as nice if you're not as nice as we like. And what we're really angry about is that other thing, but we won't say that. And then now we're at the point where we're at a third level wave where people like Jerry O'Connell are saying like, hey man, every time I went on the show, she was really sweet. She seems real nice. Hollywood's a tough town. I hope she makes it through all this. Then now it's like, fuck you, Jerry O'Connell. Headline, Jerry O'Connell decides to rub shit all over his face.
I think part of that, though, is there's 2 things at play there. There's the content drought. Shit isn't happening.
Right.
And yet there are ads that need to be seen. And so the content needs to get created. And then there is, and this I don't want to take unseriously, but I don't know how serious to take Twitter, because Twitter does Twitter things, right? Twitter jumps on people. Twitter, people jump in your mentions.
Twitter's like an adolescent puppy running around. It's got to be moving. It's got to be nothing but energy. And if it has to chase its tail, then that's what we're up to right now.
Yeah, and when people talk about like cancel culture, quote unquote, like on one hand, the idea that corporations are feckless and can be scared into action by way of a social media demonstration, I get.
And that has been a thing that we've watched over the last 5 years. I mean, we've watched millions of dollars appear and disappear and get moved over Twitter campaigns. And so,
yes,
but I don't know. But I'm with you. If where you're headed is, I don't know how much longer the world has an appetite for that.
Well, or exactly how much it matters. Like, I think if we were in a world where Ellen was still able to do full shows and she had celebrities coming on that were promoting movies that people were going to see, I think people would probably care about the Ellen stuff about as much as they've cared about the Ellen stuff for the past 10 years when everybody was talking about it. Like, which is to say not at all. I think it just would have been what it is. The fact is that right now, and you're seeing this in a lot of places, when the money fountain's turned off, everything looks different. So now you're hearing college football. College football, they've had the same fucking problems with college football since before I was born.
About under the table payments, about
About
sexual abuse,
paying the players, the fact that these kids are coming out of these inner cities and basically are at the whims of these coaches. That the money has gotten exponentially bigger, and yet it has not trickled down either to the schools or the players, like because they have to spend everything that they make, which means that state employee college coaches make $6 million and whatever. And nothing has ever seriously been addressed until the money shut off.
Yeah.
And now they're going to cancel the season for the fall. And now all of a sudden, all these kids are like, oh, yeah, we shouldn't come back unless we get paid. And now it's like, okay. And so the money is kind of turned off for Ellen right now. And now all these people that are like, hey, by the way, you sent me home crying every day. You're a monster. You picked on my vulnerabilities for years, and I've had to go to therapy for it. Now it's like, oh, she's not doing a thing. What is your favorite crack.com article? All that you are worth to society is what you can do for society.
Yeah,
right?
it's let me put it in Jason Pargin's words, but it's the article is 6 harsh truths that will make you a better person. And the core thing is like when your wife falls down and is choking to death, and somebody walks up and says, "I'm a doctor," and you ask, "Where did you go to medical school?" and he talks about how he's a good person and he tries really hard and blah 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 blah, and you're confused. It's like no, but are you a fucking doctor or not?
Yeah.
It's the first one. There we go. The world only cares about what it can get from you. And that's the world as a universal entity, not us as people. We're, the world outside of you.
I'm saying that there's a reason why all this is happening, because right now there's a lot of people who depended on a lot of platforms that cannot give anything to the world. Ellen can't do her full show. College football can't play right now. And so what are you seeing? A lot of revisiting of like, oh, so wait, you get away with all this shit? You get paid this much money for what? You're not giving me anything right now. You're not out there dancing, throwing koosh balls into the goddamn crowd, doing the fucking moonwalk with John Krasinski right now. So maybe you were a bitch to your staff, and maybe I do think that you should be off the air. Same thing with college football. Like, oh, you're not playing right now. Maybe all these players should be getting paid. Like, it's just amazing what consistent delivery of good feelings can do for the rest of your life.
It's a really good time to remind everybody that Night Attack. Not only have we shown up every single week, we're doing more.
Doing more.
Horde Killers every single week. Modern Rogue. Even when Jason couldn't be here delivering episodes. I started doing episodes with my daughter on Scam Nation. I'm just saying, man, we've shown up consistently, persistently every single week.
Because guess what? We don't have any platforms but the ones we own. And when COVID hit, we made sure that we turned on that "yes, we're open" light just that much brighter.
Yeah, we're like the reverse Ellen, where we present as mean as fuck, but secretly, like our scandal will be this like, Night Attack is actually really nice. They care very much.
Yeah, I mean, look, this isn't in a lot of ways about the money, although it would be about the money if the money totally fell apart. And thankfully, Patreon has not yet. But it is about making a connection with the audience and making sure that, like, as all these other platforms became shittier versions of themselves, to which they still are, that we were becoming better versions of ourselves. And that's something that I think is beyond a cynical, like, we capture mind share now. I do think that that's just a good instinct, is like, where can you improve?
So MDTA UK asks, but have you treated your staff with respect and actually and are actually being allies to the people you speak for, LOL? That's the part that terrifies me. Like legitimately, when I read a story about like they came for Ellen, it makes me wonder, like, I can't know what people will think of their experience working with me 10 or 20 years from now. And it's like, that terrifies me because you can massage your opinions over time. And I know I certainly have, people who I was annoyed with when I was 16 are now arch villains in the history books of my memory now.
Yeah.
And I don't know how much of that is part of the Ellen story, but I know it certainly could be part of my story, which terrifies me.
I would say for Ellen, again, these Ellen stories were out there for people that wanted to hear them years and years and years and years and years ago. There is like, I'm not saying she is Harvey Weinstein, but just to give people who are just tuning into this story a sense of it, it would be similar to somebody just finding out, like, wait, the guy who made Good Will Hunting's a bad guy. Like, if you've paid attention to that stuff, then you knew it. I don't know the lengths to which Ellen is a monster, but I've certainly heard rumors that Ellen is a monster for a very long time.
I mean, she's certainly successful, which to me in Hollywood is code for you must be a monster of some variety.
Sure. Yeah. I would say there is a rightfully reason to be terrified for everybody that has any level of success, because number one, if you are a boss, here's the fact of the matter. I don't care if you're the best fucking boss on the planet. At some point, if you're an employee, you look upstairs and you say, fuck that guy. Like, you know, that's leadership. Leadership. I remember when I was at the Daily Orange, I realized very quickly, watching other people come in and out of leadership roles, that part of being a leader was letting the people around you bitch about you in silence and not trying to fix everything. The parody of the boss who wants to be loved is
Michael Scott.
Michael Scott
Yep.
or David Brent in the English version.
Yeah.
Like, and that is cringeworthy and awful and is not good leadership, right? You know, you can't be everything to everyone, but yet, if you only took out those times when you were at your worst, you only took out those times where there were truths that you might not have been fully transparent about, you know, to your staff, and they took it as something else because they didn't know the other side of the story, then yeah, those look bad. Those don't look great. And I think that there is a scary element to say, well, shit, how do I have any assurances that disgruntled elements of my life, as best as I've tried to live it, won't come for me? And unfortunately, the answer is no. But the further answer is that's life. And hopefully more people, the more times that these things happen, a few lemmings have to fall off the cliff before we realize there's a cliff there and this doesn't actually bring us anything except in the worst possible scenarios.
Yeah, I suppose I can get on board with the sentiment of you want to make an omelet, you got to break a few eggs. But on the flip side, it's like the idea of posthumously, you know, having my whole story redefined in the way that I don't know, the guy Hugh Hefner had, or like the people that we've posthumously canceled. Like, but I guess I won't care. I'll be dead. But my grandchildren, I'd prefer to not have them hear ghost stories about how I was awful.
I mean, but that's
that's
the definition
that's
of
the
beyond
game.
your control.
That's
right?
yeah. That's what I signed up
if
for.
You are,
yeah.
If you are worried about the tendrils of your story long after you're gone, then you're living a pretty fucking good life, because there's not other shit that's on fire right now. The best thing that we can all do, and I understand what everybody's saying, is that you can listen, you can be empathetic, and you can change when it's warranted. Now, those are baseline lessons that often have little to do with productivity and creativity and making things, the business of actually doing things, but they are lessons for which are important. And if by the end of this, what we get out of this is more listening to each other and understanding that, like, things shouldn't be just wiped under the rug as business as usual, then, you know, then that's good. But on the other hand, I can understand and empathize with, I mean, fuck, who after the Aziz Ansari story didn't go back, what guy didn't go back through every single date they've ever had and think, like, oh, fuck, like, before I knew the rules of the road, like, you know, did I do shit? Like reviewing every moment of every boundary that I may not have known that I crossed. I don't feel like I had a handle on a lot of that shit until my fucking mid-20s. So, and I have not found anything that I feel like I need to atone for, but didn't mean that I didn't fucking run through that old mental inventory real quick.
Yeah, I mean, shit. To be honest, I you know, I'm fortunate enough to be 20 plus years into a marriage. And I bet I could find examples that would be headlines of how I behaved with my wife in the first 10 years of marriage that thankfully is still in the confidentiality bank of the two of us. Like she can't, neither of us can testify against each other, you know?
Yeah.
It's what I don't know that scares me, I guess. And I don't know. I thought it particularly noteworthy where the crime was not even being mean, but not being as nice as people think you are.
I think
fairly remarkable to me.
The unfortunate part about the Ellen situation is that we have yet to get the.
It may be
Louis
that everybody's
CK
talking code around the real thing. Okay. Yeah.
Yes. Like, oh, she called me fat every fucking day of my existence.
We have
and
no
then
specifics.
when I cried, she
Yeah.
called me a fat crying piggy, and I fucking, then went on to try to kill myself or something, right? Like, there's not to say that that's the thing, but like when you see the Louis CK thing and it's like, oh, he had a history of jerking off in front of women, and the women that tried to spread the word about it, his manager fucking blackballed them. Like, boom, crime, motive, victim. Boom, boom, boom. You fucked up. Like, there's not yet, at least that I've seen, the face to the Ellen crimes. And so we unfortunately get this, like, oh, she was a mean boss. And in your head, you're like, oh, like Dave in accounting, he's kind of a dick. Oh, well,
Right.
I got along fine with Dave in accounting, and not like, fucking Devil Wears Prada, like total
So
hell on wheels.
You think everything that we've seen so far has been the trailer, and the feature is yet to release.
Whether or not it's yet to release, I think it's unfortunate that we don't have details, because we wind up getting into this situation where it's like, okay, especially now, the default is believe. And it's, as I think that we should have more of a default to believe. But ultimately, if the argument as it settles is Ellen wasn't nice enough, then that doesn't really help anybody going forward.
Yeah, I will say before we wrap up here, man, it's a long watch. Let me see if I can find it. But are you familiar with the YouTube commenter ContraPoints?
I've heard of them, but I have not indulged.
She's a trans woman who has done these think pieces on cringe and shame, and specifically, it's almost 2 hours long, talking about how she's officially opting out of cancel culture, and it was specifically because she felt like there's a difference between a person who did a bad thing and a bad person, and that line is increasingly getting fuzzed out, and she does not want to participate in it anymore. And part of it was, she's very direct in that she says, she talks about her flap because of a 10-second segment where she had a famous trans person give a quote for one thing, and she explained the backlash and all that. But in general, I think it's very, very well thought. It's 2 hours long. It's a very long thing.
That's a lot of minutes. But hell, look, it's 2.2 million, so she had a fucking good audience. It's what makes YouTube a very important platform, because there is no real... The idea of the right YouTube video has changed probably 10 times in my lifetime in interacting with YouTube. It went from like, all YouTube needs to be 5 seconds or less. If you're not in and out immediately, then get the fuck out of here, to no, it's got to be like time spent listening. You have to do something that's attention for everything. And then it was like, no, it's Let's Plays. It's fucking gigantic things that can meander and go anywhere.
It's got to be,
but you have to
4
love the
hours
person.
of conspiracy theories. What? Talking
Exactly.
about the frogs being gay.
Exactly. Who, by the way, Alex Jones was out liberating the Greenbelt over the last 24 hours in Austin. So in case you didn't know, that the Greenbelt was under siege in
I
Austin.
missed that.
Yeah. So please be aware. There's a war for your mind.
Hot damn, man. We're up against it. Something
Let's
happy.
do it.
Something happy that you're happy about.
Oh shit. I'm gonna finish this podcast and then go get drunk.
Hells yeah. Hells yeah. I'm gonna do more thank you videos for the Founders Club.
Oh, how far into it are you? How
I'm sorry,
how many have you done?
you're breaking up. Can't I guess there must be doggone Spectrum messing with me again. You know what it is? I think I have like a serious addiction to golden hour. Like I just don't want to appear or be seen at any time except for between the hours of 6 p.m. and 8 p.m.
to do.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna get 30 more done tonight.
Oh, you're a lunatic. You're a fucking lunatic.
All right. We love you guys. Man, also, that was a really good show last night. I love that game.
It's a funny game, yeah.
Whoa, that's loud. We'll see you guys. Thank you for the tip.
Natty Tax Happy Hour. Natty Tax Happy Hour.